Ooh boy, you know you're deep down the rabbit hole when you feel compelled to dive into the Kingdom Hearts franchise. I held off because it seemed like everyone else was doing Kingdom Hearts the last few years. Some call me Johnny, Ant Dude, Catacris, to name but a few. Kingdom Hearts 3 took well over a decade to finally come out, and the wait got so tiring that I eventually gave up and lost interest. Then the fact that Kingdom Hearts storyline got so convoluted. The initial charm of it was that it was a trio of original characters in a fun little Disney Final Fantasy crossover. I think the initial reaction to this was, "Are you seriously doing this, Square?" But yet, when it came out, people fell in love with it. I didn't have a PlayStation 2 at the time, I had GameCube, but this game, oh yeah, this game made me get a PlayStation 2. I had just entered high school at the time. What a magical time that was. I was literally the same age as Sora in this game. Why did I wait so long? I thought it'd be interesting to look back on this series now that the Xehanort saga is concluded. Yeah, we have sagas now. It's like an anime. So basically the idea was that they met in an elevator and said, "Hey, have I got an idea for you?" Yeah, that's how it happened. Not quite as good as the story as to how Chrono Trigger came to be. Oh boy, is that a story. Shinju Hashimoto pitched the game to a Disney executive, and they said, sure. And Final Fantasy designer Tatsuya Nomura would serve as the game's director. What I will say about Tatsuya Nomura, well, he's a character designer, not a writer. And at times, it shows. If I was to compare his writing style to anybody, it'd probably be Masashi Kishimoto, the creator of Naruto. They both think about what cool things they want to add, then figure out the significance and the how and why as they go. See my rise and fall of Naruto videos for how Naruto went. I was tempted to call this the rise and fall of Kingdom Hearts, but I don't want to repeat myself. And do I still like Kingdom Hearts? Well, that's hard to say. In some ways I do, but the series got way too carried away with some of its plots. Nomura is like Kishimoto. When he answers one question, he raises about 5 more. But let's stop cutting around the bush and get right into it. Here we go with the story. Kingdom Hearts is in many ways a fanfiction come to life. And I don't mean that necessarily as a bad thing. The story mainly focuses on 3 original characters who live on Destiny Islands. Sora, Riku, and Kairi. The classic 2 guys and a girl. But the series' biggest strength is how it manages to have classic Disney characters interact with those from the Final Fantasy series, and yet it feels completely natural. Our 3 protagonists are dreamers. They want to leave their island and explore other worlds. But our main protagonist is a young boy named Sora, played by Haley Joel Osment. Sora and Riku are rivals, but also best friends, particularly in the way they compete for the affections of Kairi. Hey, hold on a moment, this is very familiar. Where have I seen this before? Why, yes, this is very similar to Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura, and those parallels are much deserved, as we will see. Am I going to be comparing this entire series to Naruto as we go? Meanwhile, while this is going on at Disney Castle, Donald Duck realizes that King Mickey has gone missing because the worlds are disappearing, and Mickey has gone out to investigate, and thus Donald and Goofy set out to find him. Supposedly the reason for Mickey's absence is because Capcom was making a Mickey Mouse game at the time. I should probably play it at some point. So one night, while Sora is sleeping, his mother calls out to him, and that is the last time this series ever makes any mention of Sora's parents. Basically, Sora reaches Riku. Riku represents that rival Sora has. Riku is the big kid on the block, the leader of the Destiny Island kids. In fact, every time I tried to compete against him, he whooped me. Always someone better. But when Sora meets Riku, he's not afraid of what's to come. Instead, he's embracing it.
Once again. There's no turning back. But this may be our only chance. We can't let fear stop us. I'm not afraid of the darkness.
But Sora rejects the darkness, and as such comes to inherit the Keyblade, a mystical key that can destroy the Heartless. Sora manages to reach Kairi, but she disappears before he can reach her, and Destiny Islands is destroyed. But Sora wakes up in Traverse Town, where he meets up with an assortment of Final Fantasy characters. Aerith and Yuffie from Final Fantasy VII, and Squall from Final Fantasy VIII.
That's Leon.
Right. Going by Leon in this series. I know you as Squall, though. Sora meets up with Donald and Goofy, and from there the trio set out to other worlds to find their friends. The dynamic between the trio is set up perfectly well, though. Please don't ever do that again. But Sora is unaware that Maleficent is leading a team of Disney villains for her own plans, and there was also the mysterious cloaked figure who appeared to Sora at the beginning of the game. We'll get to him in a bit.
The Keyblade has chosen him. Will it be he who conquers the darkness? Or will the darkness swallow him? Either way, he could be quite useful.
From then on out, each world Sora visits is basically an abridged retelling of whatever movie the Disney World is based on. We got Wonderland from Alice in Wonderland, Deep Jungle from Tarzan, Olympus Coliseum from Hercules, 100 Acre Wood from Winnie the Pooh, Agrabah from Aladdin, Halloween Town from Nightmare Before Christmas, Monstro from Pinocchio, Atlantica from The Little Mermaid, and Neverland from Peter Pan, and two original worlds, Hollow Bastion and The End of the World. Along the way you may encounter a surprise, like Cloud showing up in Olympus Coliseum. But there is actually an effort to tie the worlds in with the overarching plot of the story, as Maleficent is after the Princesses of Heart, who when brought together can unlock the keyhole to the final world where Kingdom Hearts lies. There's some weird rule about how Sora can't interfere with the impacts of other worlds, a rule that's gradually forgotten about as time goes on. Well, let's go into some of the characters real quick. Sora, our main protagonist, is basically a shonen main character like Goku, Luffy, and Naruto, in that he doesn't change much, but he's the force of change for others around him. There is some change, such as the beginning where he's forced to have a fight with Donald over entering Deep Jungle because the king might be there, or Riku and Kairi. It's shown that he doesn't consider Donald and Goofy to be among his friends just yet.
Right, my friends. There's two of them. The loud one is Donald.
Huh?
You know what? Never mind. I'm looking for my friends, Riku and Kairi.
But yet as his travels go on, he starts to realize that his strength comes from having Donald and Goofy as his companions.
Now I finally know what you mean about strength of heart. Mine comes from Donald and Goofy.
Come again?
If we stick together, we're unbeatable. Not even Hercules stands a chance. With these guys beside me, I'm ready for anything.
He has a strong sense of justice, such as where he defends Alice from the Queen of Hearts. Glad somebody did that. But, like all shonen tropes, it's the rival that gets the most development, and that leads us to Riku. Riku is much like Sasuke. He's tempted by dark powers, though in Riku's case it's to protect those close to him. Riku is being manipulated by Maleficent. He starts to believe her lies when he sees Sora with Donald and Goofy, which doesn't really make much sense, but we need conflict. Riku goes on to basically be the character who's in between light and darkness, that balance, if you will. But here he just makes stupid mistake after stupid mistake, and because Kairi spends most of the game comatose, Riku is willing to do anything to get her back, even if some of those things are morally questionable, like trying to sacrifice Pinocchio because he has a heart. But Sora rejects Riku.
You might not hear it, but right now it's loud and clear. And it's telling me you're on the wrong side.
Kairi is the girl. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Kairi spends most of the game comatose. Really, she gets the bulk of her development in her relationship with Sora, obviously intended to be the love interest. She moves a bit when Sora calls out to her. She turns out to be one of the Princesses of Heart, so she's a Disney princess now. Nice. I'll get more into Kairi when I cover the Hollow Bastion portion of the game. So the plot is your basic light versus darkness theme, with the idea that when a person falls to darkness, their hearts then become the heartless. Oh boy, some lore retcons are sure to come. The story is pretty simplistic and easy to follow, which is not something I can say for later entries. But really, the story's biggest strength is just seeing all your favorite Disney characters in the same world as your favorite Final Fantasy characters. Also, this game was probably the first that started Cloud on his current flanderization of being stoic and serious all the time. You have your beginning on Destiny Islands, the middle portion when you go back to Traverse Town, and then the end portion which starts with Hollow Bastion. Hollow Bastion stands out that it features Beast from Beauty and the Beast. Despite his world being destroyed, his heart was so strong that it ended up on Hollow Bastion.
believed I would find her. So here I am. She must be here. I will have her back!
That's why I love Beast. He's the man. Or Beast. But Riku reveals the shocking truth. He was meant to wield the Keyblade, not Sora, or as he puts it,
You were just a delivery boy.
which then leads to Donald and Goofy being forced to abandon Sora to follow Riku, but despite this, Sora won't let that stop him. With Beast by his side, Sora confronts Riku and declares that he doesn't need the Keyblade, and Donald and Goofy decide to put friendship before duty, and so the Keyblade chooses Sora again. With the battle done, Riku at his moment of weakness is finally taken over by the mysterious figure. Oh boy, let's just say that large ham is incoming. So Sora finally confronts Maleficent, and let's just say the mistress of all evil lives up to her name.
You poor, simple fools. You think you can defeat me? Me, the mistress of all evil!
But Maleficent is subsequently reduced to a pawn, and her final end really should have been her end because after this it felt like she had served her purpose.
A fitting end for
Such a fool.
But the possessed Riku will still not go down. Kairi's heart is inside Sora, shock of all shocks, and Sora gets his crowning moment.
Sora! Forget it. There's no way you're taking Harry's heart.
Basically, this is the climax of emotion. Sora has to sacrifice himself to restore Kairi's heart, but fades away in the process. Not the last time this will happen, I assure you. Riku holds off Ansem to give them time to escape. Sora turns into a Heartless. Supposedly a sequence from Kingdom Hearts 3 was planned for here, but they couldn't pull it off. Sora is restored to his normal form via the power of love. It's a curious thing. It makes one man weep and another man sing. Beast holds the line because, you know, he's awesome. So, back in Traverse Town, it's all set up for the finale. But Sora tells Kairi to stay behind. This will become a trend. But it's very important for establishing the future of their relationship.
Take this. It's my lucky charm. Be sure to bring it back to me.
Don't worry, I will.
I will say this about the first Kingdom Hearts. It's definitely doing its job of establishing the story, the themes, the characters. So, it's a solid beginning. And with that, we're going to pause our review of the story. Until we get to the final boss, it's time to cover the gameplay. The graphics are, for a PlayStation 2 game remastered into HD, pretty good. They still hold up today. The music was composed by Yoko Shimomura, and she's one of the best in the industry. The music is top-notch with taking cues from classic Disney songs, and the boss battle music, absolute top-notch. The song Simple and Clean is pretty good, but I'm not playing it because I'd get flagged for copyright. The voice acting, Square didn't spare any expense. Haley Joel Osment, David Gallagher, Hayden Panettiere. Oh, that's a tough one to pronounce. All shine as Sora, Riku, and Kairi. The voice actors chosen for the Final Fantasy characters all fit them. Mandy Moore, who voices Aerith, would later go on to voice Rapunzel in Tangled. Of course, all the usual Disney voice actors reprised their roles, and Billy Zane as Ansem, just absolute perfection. Everything he says is hammy gold. As I'm playing the final mix version on PS4, the FPS has been upgraded from 30 frames per second to 60 frames per second, and it's quite good. Now for the gameplay. I'll cover the worlds and their party members after this. Kingdom Hearts 1 is an action RPG. It has level up features like increasing your strength, magic, and techniques. The X button swings Sora's Keyblade. The circle button is to jump. There was actually some platforming sections to Kingdom Hearts. Magic is also something that comes into play. The magic meter works differently in this game than it would in future games. You have bars of magic and it's filled up by causing damage or getting hit. There was actually strategy to the fight, such as having to use magic to damage Ursula with her cauldron. But that being said, and I will say this, Kingdom Hearts 1 has aged. What do you expect from a game that came out in 2002? But I don't like using that term because, should we really grade games from the past as having aged? Of course they've aged, but for its time, yeah, this was something unlike any other. There's also a bunch of hidden goodies and collectibles to find. like the 101 Dalmatians or Anson's Report, which gives you more information on the Kingdom Hearts world, or synthesizing a bunch of items. You can get the ultimate Keyblade this way, but I didn't bother to take the time to do that. There's also these Trinity marks that you can find that lead to various rewards, or you can summon various other characters like Simba from The Lion King or Bambi. One little trick I learned later on in the game is that when you are using lots of magic, it's a good idea to summon Bambi and refill your magic meter. Tinkerbell is also useful for replenishing health. One of my favorite abilities to do while I was grinding for EXP was to use the Trinity ability to nuke everyone, then have Bambi refill my magic. That being said, I did run into a few glitches, such as this part in Neverland where I was fighting a really tough boss. I played on Proud Mode, by the way, and well, this happened. Okay, we can go to the next part. Now. Today. Hey. Hey! Collective mass of sweaty people! Hey you! Come on, let's get moving! Phew! Thought I'd have to restart the game. There's also the gummy ship segments that I found really slow and boring, provided that you don't upgrade your equipment. It's just a way to get from point A to point B. Once you get the ability to warp across the worlds, they become much more bearable, but they still feel kind of pointless. Anyway, let's go into the worlds real quick and their perks, as well as the party member if that applies. Donald and Goofy are not particularly useful, especially on Proud difficulty. Donald's main use is that he's a magic user, so I mainly want him to focus on healing. So you'd better prioritize his magic recovery abilities. He's always the first one to go down, while Goofy has more health and uses a shield to attack and defend. I mainly like to use Goofy to heal everyone else's magic because he has no use for it. When you master the right abilities, Sora becomes quite the powerhouse, but you have to manage your AP just right. Destiny Island is a good starter world. Being able to fight Selphie, Waka, and Tidus from Final Fantasy is a nice way to get you used to the combat. I've never actually played Final Fantasy X, which I'll remedy when I decide to do Final Fantasy. Eventually. It would be nice if Square would release Final Fantasy 1 through 6 for Switch. Maybe they will, which will date this video. Obviously it sets up as your home. Then when it's destroyed, you're thrown into the unknown. Traverse Town is basically, mostly, your safe haven. It's where you can interact with the gang and the only place where you can get your items, which is a little annoying. Fortunately, they drop quite frequently, but it's still a little annoying. This is where all travelers go to when their world is destroyed, which makes a lot of sense. How many times will I say that when I'm doing Kingdom Hearts? It's also a great place to grind experience when you get to later on in the game because the enemies will respawn after every 2 rooms. Wonderland is, well, based on Alice in Wonderland. It's a fairly short, straightforward level, but with some puzzle solving. I do enjoy the boss battle with the Queen of Hearts because you're not battling Heartless, just the cards from the movie. It has some story significance because it furthers the Princesses of Heart storyline. Deep Jungle is an interesting world, like the movie Tarzan. Yeah, not the best Disney movie. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but yeah. It's clear the Renaissance era of Disney was over. Tarzan is the party member for the level and he's quite useful. One of the things I love about this world is riding on trees and swinging from vines. Coolest part of the movie. Olympus Coliseum is just a coliseum, and you fight in tournaments. It is really cool to be able to fight Cloud, who has his own story, and Cerberus from the Hercules movie, and seeing Hades, who was easily the best part of the movie, is always a treat. You can keep coming back to it where you get to fight the likes of Hercules, the Rock Titan in the Hades Cup, Hades himself. The Ice Titan is a secret boss, and crap. Yeah, fighting Sephiroth is a huge treat. I had to wait till I was at level 100 to even attempt to have a chance. Sephiroth is voiced by Lance Bass of NSYNC fame. Even though he has so few lines, I wondered why they bothered. In the final mix version, after you beat Sephiroth, you get treated to a pretty cool cutscene of Cloud fighting Sephiroth, years before Advent Children made it cool. Then there's Agrabah, which mainly focuses on Aladdin and the Cave of Wonders, and it's so much fun to be able to explore the city. Aladdin is a pretty fun party member because he's so quick on his feet. The boss battle against Jafar is a highlight, and I do love how Genie is trying not to hurt you. The boss battle against Genie Jafar is basically just hit Iago. But there's a secret boss battle in the final mix version called Kurt Zeza, who definitely requires you to think on your feet because he tries to inhibit your magic. Next up I did Monstro. Yeah, I remember this thing. It's a short maze as you chase after Pinocchio and Riku. The level does further the story as it shows Riku's descent into darkness. You finally get the high jump in this level, allowing you to jump higher as it says. It's a much needed ability. It's mainly a short little distraction. Atlantica. Oh boy. It's the underwater level. Ariel's not a bad party member as she has an awesome attack, but the level has underwater controls and it's to say, it's awkward. Games never do underwater controls well on their first try. Not to mention the fact that most of Sora's abilities are neutered in this level due to being underwater, and yeah, you can start to see why people don't like this level. The boss fight against Giant Ursula is definitely a spectacle, since she takes up most of the entire screen. But it's very annoying to fight. Get in, get out, and keep attacking. Halloween Town. Jack Skellington makes for a good party member as he's like a dancer. It takes several iconic images from the movie. It doesn't do Christmas Town, that's for the sequel. What I particularly enjoy about this level is Oogie Boogie's meltdown when his attempt to control the Heartless doesn't work.
This is it? Nobody disrespects me! Nobody!
His boss battle is about timing, so to say, but the next part, where you have to destroy the manor, it could have been done better. Neverland is mainly just the pirate ship, meaning it's basically just a bunch of rooms. Peter Pan is good at attacks and can fly, and this level gives you the ability to fly, and it's actually really fun. The fight against Captain Hook actually took a few tries because you don't want to lose all your magic, but I really love flying around Clock Tower, just adds to the spectacle. It has a secret boss called the Phantom, which can only be hurt depending on the sphere that's selected. He has an instant kill attack, and my hand started to sweat. I was out of magic and was about to die, but thankfully, with 1 second left, I pulled it off. That's how you do it. 100 Acre Wood is just a collection of minigames. Not very interesting minigames, and I must admit I didn't really grow up with Winnie the Pooh, but I guess it's there for those that did. Fortunately, they would massively improve upon these for Kingdom Hearts 2. It's sizable enough to be heart-warming, I suppose. Now for Hollow Bastion. At the beginning, it's like a puzzle. It's a great world and really highlights the strengths of the game. Beast is your party member, and he is your saving grace when you are stuck with no Keyblade. Beast is probably my favorite party member in the game due to how strong he is. It culminates with a boss fight with Riku. Finally getting to prove yourself better than him is worth the struggle. Then you have to fight Maleficent, and she's hard, and in her dragon form, she's incredibly tough, but it's nothing you can't handle. Then the boss fight with the possessed Riku is actually really fun, but tough as it's a battle of reflexes. Unfortunately, this is where I must complain about the game's checkpoint system, as it doesn't really start you right at the boss battle, rather at the room right before it. I'm not sure if this is a thing on lower difficulties, but it's just an annoyance. In the final mix version, there's a secret boss battle against the unknown. Well, I know who he is, but let's keep that to ourselves for now. He's a taste of what's to come. He begins the classic Kingdom Hearts style of speaking in riddles. The battle is tough, but one you can handle when you're at a high enough level. So time for the end of the world. So skip to the end of the video if you don't want to be spoiled. The end of the world lives up to its name. It's nothing but emptiness, the remains of the world that the Heartless destroyed. Kingdom Hearts does this a lot. But the real highlight is when you encounter Chernobog, the Disney version of the devil! El Diablo! I mean, it might as well be. He's not very hard since all you have to do is fly in close and attack him. From there, there's the final rest, which is your final trip before the endgame. Can I just say I love Billy Zane's Ansem? He brought so much hamminess and menace to the role.
Darkness is the heart's true essence.
Sora's status as the flat, positive character stands out well here.
That's not true! The heart may be weak, and sometimes it may even give in. But I've learned that deep down there's a light that never goes out.
So you have come this far, and still you understand nothing. Every light must fade. Every heart return to darkness.
The final battle with Ansem is pretty amazing. It's an amazingly layered battle. The first battle has Donald and Goofy by your side, but it's made infinitely more entertaining by Ansem's hamminess. and then it breaks into a solo fight against the giant Heartless from the beginning of the game. A nice little bookend. Then there's fighting Ansem one-on-one without Donald and Goofy, which is fine. Yeah, it's fine. But you think the fight ends here, but it doesn't. Ansem turns into whatever this is. Yeah. Donald and Goofy are lost, and Sora's on the verge of giving up.
Giving up already? Come on, Sora. I thought you were stronger than that.
So once again, Sora can fly. Ansem is so big and massive. The Chaos Ship, or whatever it is, you have to gradually wear it down, get Donald and Goofy back, and finally take the fight to Ansem, and it creates for quite an exhilarating experience. Ansem is defeated, but he's still dependent on Kingdom Hearts giving him darkness. But
You're wrong. I know now, without a doubt. Kingdom Hearts is light.
But why?
I love that delivery. Sounds so hemmy and yet so utterly confounded at the same time. So they still have to close the door, but Riku's on the other side. I guess you can't get through that tiny space. But when all seems lost, a savior comes.
Your Majesty! Now, Sora, let's close this door for good.
Ah, now that's how you get the iconic Disney character to appear. So Sora and Mickey close the door together, and the worlds begin to reform. But suddenly Kairi is there! I have no idea how she got there, but we'll just work with it.
Kairi, remember what you said before? I'm always with you too. I'll come back to you. I promise.
I know you will.
Sorry to break the immersion there, but the song Simple and Clean is under heavy copyright, and I am not getting this video flagged for copyright, but the ending is seriously amazing. Seeing Kairi reach out to Sora while the worlds reform, it's quite the amazing sight. The secret movie teases what's to come. Kingdom Hearts will keep doing this, and gradually the effect was lost, sadly. But the real highlight is seeing the Where Are They Now epilogue. Seeing Cloud and Aerith must have been special for Final Fantasy VII fans because this was the first time they had interacted since that game. Pinocchio becoming a real boy, it's all such a touching feeling. Kingdom Hearts still left some loose ends unresolved for a sequel, and it's a good thing the game was a success because otherwise, oh boy! Kingdom Hearts has aged, but it has a charm to it that can never be matched. I recommend starting here just because, well, it's the first game in the series. You should always start with the first in the series, mostly. Kingdom Hearts was just the beginning, and we couldn't wait to see what happened next. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please hit that like bell and subscribe button, you know the drill. If you want to keep up to date on things, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord or Twitch, which are provided in the description below. See you next time!